Spoilers for WandaVision Episode 6, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Oh, and I brought popcorn too. Well, this is the episode I've really been waiting for. Vision and Scarlet Witch, and even Quicksilver in their classic comic book costumes for almost the entire episode. When I first saw the stills and advanced footage of them in their costumes, I kind of felt the absurdity of how practical they are in a real world. But I don't know if it's the comic book fan in me or what, but as the episode progressed, I really dug them. I know this isn't something they're going to be sporting every week, but we got to see them in it longer than I expected, so that was a treat for me. Speaking of treats, it's trick or treat time on this episode, which I'm guessing is the sitcom nod to the 1990s and the TV show Roseanne specifically, which was known for their memorable Halloween episodes. Outside of that, the TV sitcom portion didn't have much of a Roseanne feel to it, but that's okay. I never watched the show Malcolm in the Middle, but I hear this might be based more on that show than it was Roseanne. So Wanda is dressed as a Sokovian fortune teller, and the line where one of her kids asks if she was Old Red Riding Hood made me laugh out loud. I never really thought of her costume that way, but yeah, she kind of does, and I'm sure I'll think of that when I see the costume in the future. And Vision appears as a Mexican wrestler. So there's a lot happening in this episode, with some of the highlights being, we see more lip service being paid to Wanda. People are really catering to her. Pietro recalling a Halloween memory that she remembers differently, and he explains to her it's because she suppressed the trauma. Later on, Herb would ask Wanda if she wanted something changed when she was asking if Vision was on neighborhood watch. Wanda questioning Pietro about his coming to be there, and his, "I mean, that's what you wanted, isn't it?" reply. When asking where his accent was, he asked her, "Where's yours?" That was good. It felt like Pietro was speaking for the fans at that point. So on the edge of Westview, Director Haywood dismisses Monica, Darcy, and Agent Wu. This seemed odd to me, especially the Darcy dismissal. If it wasn't for her, they really wouldn't have a big grasp of what was really going on inside of Westview. Haywood is right about the people who disappeared in the blip, though, not understanding how hard things can get and the decisions that have to be made. But the additional personal attack on Monica, including the snide comment about her mother, seemed very out of place. I thought their lack of hiding their identities when they snuck back in the base was one of those classic unrealistic mistakes that movies and TV shows often make. They think that fans will either be confused as to who it is if you don't see their full face, or they think you get a better performance from the actors without the distractions of having their face covered. I don't agree with that. Vision roaming the town, finding anomalies within the residents, was a good portion of the episode. The moment of him with Agnes, who's dressed as a witch, that further confirms this is really Agatha Harkness, I liked. A personal side note, there's nothing wrong with casting an older actress in the role of an older character. They shouldn't have gotten away with it in that Spider-Man movie with a hot Aunt May. Aunt May should not be hot. And truthfully, they made a big fuss over Melissa Tomei than they should have. But I'm digressing. To see the moment of clarity with Agnes was cool. To hear her mention that he is Vision of the Avengers, and he doesn't know what the Avengers are, that made me start to think, does Wanda know who the Avengers are? What would happen if an Avenger or someone she knew showed up? But the consistent thing, confirmed once again by Agnes, is Wanda isn't letting them leave. Wanda is controlling this, even though, once again, Wanda doesn't even know how this began. So other pieces of interest from this episode. The establishment that Wanda and Vision's children have superpowers. Wiccan and Speed are now part of the MCU. Vision leaving the Hex shows that outside of that area, he's dead. 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 Dead, as Agnes might say. Why didn't Wanda know that Vision was in trouble and her child felt it before she did? I like seeing Wanda use her powers against Pietro when he talked about Wanda's dead husband. That was a no-no. Very important, too, is the discovery that entering the Hex has caused Monica's cells to change, perhaps to mutate? And this theory confirms how she will become the character Photon. But as the episode is ending and the hex in the geographical region of Westview is expanding, are we about to get a bunch of new superheroes? So this episode and the last were a few minutes longer than the first ones were, and the time flew by for me as a viewer. You heard I had a lot of questions. Another one that I have is, since Pietro remembers being shot up in Age of Ultron, does he remember Magneto and the X-Men? I think that with the outstanding amount of questions, and the fact that we have 3 installments left of the series, not all of these are going to get answered, and I fully expect this show to end on a cliffhanger that won't get resolved until Doctor Strange 2, which originally was supposed to come out immediately after the series wrapped. All in all, this episode I thought brought us more subtle terror than the previous ones, which I was okay with. No huge cliffhanger ending, and hey, they don't all have to be that way, which I was fine with as well. Overall, I found more enjoyment in this episode than I didn't, so it's a thumbs up. It's funny, while a bunch of stuff happened, it almost felt like there wasn't a lot of stuff to talk about. It's kind of odd in that sense. So I've been sharing with you some different comic books from my collection that feature Vision and Scarlet Witch. In a previous video, I showed you the first 4 issues of their first limited series. Well, they had a second limited series that lasted 12 issues, and I'm going to show you the first 4 covers of those 12 issues now. This is issue number 1. Followed by issue number 2. Issue number 3. And finally, issue number 4. We'll show you the next installment with next week's recap video. So if you're new to my channel, I hope that you will subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments about WandaVision below. What are the questions that you have about the series and how it's progressing? Are you enjoying it? What are you hoping to see? What are you so glad that you have seen? Let's dialogue about all of this and more in the comment section below. Thank you again for spending some more time on my channel, and I appreciate the support of these WandaVision videos. Have a great rest of your day.